The Elite Recruiter Podcast has multiple summits coming up that you need to make sure that you are registered for. We have the AI Recruiting Summit 2025 coming up. And on top of that, finish the year strong. These two summits are going to help you move the needle, help you achieve your goals, help you achieve your dreams, and make 2025 the year that you started out and you wanted it to be. Make sure you get registered and also stay tuned. We got something cooking for you guys. Working on another project that you guys are going to absolutely love. All right. See you guys at the summits and see you guys soon. Enjoy this episode. Coming up on this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast.
You have to meet people face to face. You have to go on meetings. So don't lie to yourself and feel like, oh, I'm doing enough. Don't have rocking horse syndrome. If you come in with that fixed mindset where you say like, oh, woe is me. It's the market. It's this, that, and the other. What that does, it closes you down from learning opportunities because you're placing the blame externally on something else. And you're not learning from it.
Welcome to the Elite Recruiter Podcast with your host, Benjamin Mena, where we focus on what it takes to win in the recruiting game. We cover it all from sales, marketing, mindset, money, leadership, and placements.
I'm so excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast because this is something that could be holding you back from this year. Shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome to the point of it's keeping you from doing what you need to be doing and your recruiting desk to still win. Yes, I get it. I talk about AI tools all the time. I overplay with AI tools. You know, a lot of stuff gets thrown at me because of being on a podcast. And there are tools out there that can work. The recruiting industry is changing so fast when it comes to the back-end tech and the capabilities of it. But at the same time, you can't forget what you need to do as a recruiter, building the relationships, influencing people, and making things happen. So I'm so excited to have Keely back on the podcast. So we're not going to do a deep dive in his background. You can go back to the original time that we sat down as we walk through that. We're going to talk about what it takes to actually win and stay away from shiny object syndrome. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me return. I can't believe it's been now almost like a year and a half since we first did this, which is crazy to think.
I think it's kind of funny because we talk at least a few times a month, so it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think we were just chatting the other day about, like you talked about, AI. So it has been a fast year and a half, but at the time, sometimes it has felt like a long year and a half too, with some of the ups and the downs that is facing the market.
So before we start talking about what recruiters need to do, real quick, 30 seconds, a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, what I'm doing now. So coming up on 2 years, I am a sales coach / consultant. So I've been working specifically with staffing recruiting firms to fix all things sales from an operational standpoint to top of funnel to closing deals.
Okay. So, since you get to have all these conversations inside the companies, have the conversations, what do you think is stopping people from winning?
To put it simply, lack of a plan. I'm still shocked at how few people know what they need to accomplish day over day and week over week. And a lot of it comes back to just simply having a plan. I mean, I was having dinner with someone who they run a $20 million firm last week, and I was asking around some of the KPIs and metrics, which it has like a negative connotation. Unfortunately, some people hear that KPI metrics, like those are like the boiler room type setups. And while yes, there are boiler room firms out there that do manage through a dashboard, if you don't have goals, how are you ever supposed to know if you're improving or not? Right? What's the saying? You can't manage what you can't measure. And a lot of it comes back to having a plan in place and then setting up things like goals, KPIs, and metrics in order to accomplish what you want to do at the bigger level, right? Because we all want to bring in new clients. We all want to grow revenue. But how do you break that down into smaller goals in order to get to the large goal?
And I want to talk about this planning thing for a second. I work with the Pinnacle Take podcast, so it's a lot of big billers, and almost everybody has a plan. I don't know if you got a chance to see Dante Nino at Rock the Year. So if you have the VIP replays, definitely worth checking that talk out. But one of the things he says for all his big billers is at the end of the day, between 4 and 5, they have to work on the plan for tomorrow. For a recruiter listening to this, you think of the plan, top 3 things you need to do, but what is actually planning to have a successful recruiting day look like?
Yeah. So what Dante says, I think him and I've never actually spoken to him directly outside of a few DMs, but I think we're kind of cut from the same cloth, in which I was always taught there's an A time and a B time, meaning A time is when you focus on the highest value activities to grow your business. So if you're a recruiter, whether you're 360 or 180, right, what are your high value activities? And if you ask me, The two highest value activities you can do in this business are talking to candidates and talking to clients/prospects. Everything else is secondary compared to those two things. Because if you're not doing enough of that, you won't be successful long term. And so that B time, that like 4 to 5 time, is where you plan for the next 8 times, meaning what do I need to accomplish tomorrow? Like, who am I reaching out to? Do I have a plan set? So when I walk in the office tomorrow morning, I'm not wasting the first hour of my day figuring out what I should be doing. I'm just simply out there executing on the plan I had already prepared the night before.
Okay. And, is there systems that you can use to make this easier?
Yeah, I mean, look, time blocking is a big deal. I was talking to a client the other day about the Pomodoro technique, which is 25-minute intervals where you just lock in on a single task. And not that I'm going to recommend a ton of books, but there's a book called Deep Work, I think it's by Cal Newport. And he talks about how people like Adam Grant, for example, they can block off 4 hours and be more effective in those 4 hours than most people can do in 8. And a lot of it has to do with they have a singular focus on a task at hand and block everything out. So going back to the Pomodoro technique, you would say, hey, for the next, let's say 50 minutes, I'm going to work on researching prospects and learning about their business and who the key decision makers are in each one of them. I actually call it like the 5-5-50 method. You block off 50 minutes, you find 5 accounts, you find 5 names in each of them. But that's all you do. You shut down LinkedIn, you shut down your email, you turn your phone on silent, you close email. Like that, it can be hard to do, but you could be so much more efficient if you just focus on one thing at a time, take a quick little 5-minute break, and then come back and repeat.
We say that again, the 5 what?
5-5-50. So basically, and I like to come up with like catchy ways. This is another thing I like to talk about is the 30-30-30, but 5-5-50 is you find 5 accounts. So first up, block 50 minutes off, right? Let's just start there. Find every day, or probably at the very least Mondays, block off 50 minutes where you're going to find 5 new accounts. And you're telling yourself, my goal is to find 5 new names in each account. So through those 50 minutes, you're going to do research. You're going to find out who the decision makers are. You put them into your CRM. You can put them in your Excel doc. Wherever it is, you capture the information. And then later on through the week, in like that 30-30 block where you're blocking off 30 minutes to do outreach, you can spend the first 30 minutes doing things like phone calls, 10 minutes, like 10 phone calls out there. The next 30 minutes, you can do LinkedIn DMs. And the last 30 minutes, you can do emails. And you're doing 10 in each one of those. It adds up to 30 that way too.
Okay, cool. And then, okay, so that's only 1 hour of your day. What else should you be doing to be successful?
Yeah, that's only 1 hour, right? I mean, look, I will tell you this. Early on in your career, you're going to be doing a ton more prospecting and outbound. Then as the book of business grows, you'll do more and more account management. So I tell everybody, like in your early days, if you're building a territory from scratch, what I just described there, you're going to be doing that for probably 6 to 7 hours a day. Let's not kid ourselves, because you're going to be out there winning business. And once the business starts coming in, that's where if you're doing 360, you might be doing more fulfillment. You're going to have to do more account management, aka keeping your current clients happy and like kind of building that moat too around the account. Because as we know, there's always someone out there trying to take your business. And if you're not building that moat around already established relationships and accounts, you could end up losing it as well. So I don't know if that directly answers it, but I would say early on your stage, you're going to be doing BD for most of the day. And that could be using LinkedIn. That could be, hell, I still go and do in-person drops. I know it's kind of out of vogue. It's been for a while now, but you go on site, drop off your business card and do something fun. You'd be surprised the amount of positive reactions you get because no one's even doing that anymore. Like I'm a big believer in dominating the local market first of where you're in and then looking to expand nationally from there.
I want to dig on this like market mapping. So you're sitting there, let's take this a few steps back and as somebody just starting out, either a brand new desk, brand new territory, or whatever business they had this year, they just crinkled it up, tossed it away. And they're like, you know what? I'm starting brand new. When I'm looking at market mapping, what should I be doing first?
Who's your ICP? Like you got to start there. Who it is that you like best serve or want to serve, right? Because maybe you came from an accounting and finance background and you want to do IT for whatever reason. I'm just making this up. But ultimately, like who is your ideal client profile? Because whoever that is will guide all the following actions you're going to take from that point. Let's just say hypothetically, right? Here in Chicago, there's a big med device and biotech, because I was in a lot of life sciences. There's a big scene around that. So how do I narrow that down, right? Am I going for 5 to 25 million revenue companies in the med device space in Chicago? Because that would be my ICP. And then from there, I have to go out and find the accounts that actually fit that ICP. Next, I have to then figure out who in the accounts I'm actually going to reach out to, because that is the market mapping part. It's one thing to know the accounts. I need to know who the decision makers, and it's more than one. I think a lot of people overlook this step. They think, oh, well, I do quality engineers. I'll reach out to HR, for example. Can't get a hold of the M. It's like, no. There's a lot of people within the decision and buying process in each account. And if I ask you, do you know who all the players are? If the answer is no, it means you need to go back and find out the answer. So you should be able to understand every single decision maker, from the manager to the director to the VP to the CEO, because in today's day and age, there's more and more buyers being involved in the buying process. And the other thing too, I like to tell people is, knowing all those names, each one of those is an opportunity to generate a conversation that could lead to getting a contract in new business. It's like playing baseball, right? If you go to the plate one time and strike out and never go to the plate again, it's like, are you a bad hitter? I don't know, right? But you want many at-bats. And by having more and more people to reach out to, you get more at-bats at the plate, which leads to better things, opportunities to hit home runs, singles, doubles, right? I'm on a baseball kick because the Cubs started their season off. Just like a little bit about me, I was watching those early morning games. Didn't go so well for him, but hey, it is baseball season now here in Chicago.
What's the Cubs?
The Chicago Cubs?
What are they?
They're like a historically bad franchise, but we did have that one year, years ago now at this point, 2016. So maybe I'll see another championship in my lifetime, but at least I saw one.
Okay, so we talked about market mapping, but let's take it a few steps back. Let's just say, not everybody's had like a great industry. The industry's falling apart. We'll just throw an example out there. My industry got doged.
Okay, fair.
What should I be doing? Like, where should I be potentially looking at, like picking back up, or maybe just going somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hardest questions I get is, hey, Keely, my industry is not doing well. Should I pivot? And I always say the best way I would go about doing this is go back to your current clients, regardless if you're hiring or not, right? So again, I'll make up a story here around why I think this is helpful. So I'm working with someone one-on-one capacity, and he's had experience working with manufacturing companies, construction companies. There's one other one I'm blanking on, but like 3 different industries, right? His success, though, most of the time was accounting and finance in the manufacturing space. He was able to pick up a few construction clients here or there. Let's just say everything shut down in both those areas in the accounting and finance space. I would go back to my clients and say, hey, look, I know you're not hiring in the department I usually work in, but I noticed you have some IT roles, right? We've had some great experience working with me. I'm not going to sit here and promise that I'm going to have a candidate by tomorrow, but the quality of work I bring to the table based on our years of working together. Give me a shot on some of those roles, because it's a lot easier to go to those pre-existing relationships because they're willing to take a chance on you, right? Because it is a chance to give you a role that you don't continually work in day over day. But if you've done a good enough job in the beginning with them, they're willing to give you a shot if you set proper expectations. Versus if you go out to the market and you say, well, man, I got Doge, right? The government's not going well. I'm going to try this whole construction thing. You go to a construction company, they go, awesome, Ben, who do you work with? You go, well, nobody, right? They're like, why would we trust you then? We don't know who you are. You just admitted you've never worked within the construction space. Why would I choose you over the hundreds of other recruiters that have been in this space for the last 5 years? Versus if you go to your pre-existing clients, you build up those success stories, right? Let's say they give you the opportunity to work on that IT role. You place it, they give you a testimonial, and there's this positive flywheel that occurs because you could take that story to market. So the next person who says, hey, who do you work with? You point to that client, you win them over, and you've got another success story. And there's this whole positive flywheel that starts to occur when you do that, in addition to building the confidence up too. Because let's not kid ourselves. Going into a new industry is terrifying, right? You're like, I got to learn all these new things. I got to learn these new technologies. I got to learn different buyer personas, whatever it is. But as you start building success, the confidence starts to pick up, and the prospects you reach out to later on start to like feel and see that confidence as well.
And let's take it one more step further. The whole industry got doged.
Sure.
And I actually have to go like look at the construction industry and overcome which I have done construction stuff in Afghanistan. But anyways, I've never done construction recruiting, or pretend I've never done construction recruiting. How do I overcome that barrier where they're like, yeah, like I got Dante's firm across, why am I going to work with you?
Yeah, great question. So maybe a cheap answer again, and it's a cliche saying, right? But your network is your net worth, they say. I would almost guarantee some of the people you've worked with have some sort of connection to other people in the industry, right? Like I'll use myself, for example. I was prospecting into a small little startup the other day. I came across a sales manager's name, last name I kind of recognized. I was like, wait a minute, I knew of someone named Sean by that last name at a company I worked at called ADP. I reached out to Sean. Turns out that person is Sean's brother. So now Sean is making me an introduction to the sales manager to help for an AE role they have open right now. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone back to my network and said, hey, can you help me out here? So that's like one of the first places I start, because referrals are worth their weight in gold. If someone refers you over or copies you on an email or says, hey, so-and-so is going to reach out to you on your behalf, the likelihood of that closing, and they've done studies, but it's like over 50-some%. So that's one of the, I would say, the best ways to go about doing it is go still back to your network and see who they know. Because ultimately, I think people still want to help other people. And if you've got a good relationship, you've done a good job for them, they want to help you out. They want to see you succeed. So that simple ask could lead to big things.
I feel like I also need to go clean up my network. I feel like every recruiter's network is also good chaos. Like, how do you clean that up?
Well, I mean, one, you can export all your LinkedIn connections if you want to do it through Excel. I'm more of a visual person. So I literally this week was scrolling through 10 different pages of my network and seeing people I knew and the connections they had and asking for introductions that way. Because sometimes, like, and people aren't going to love to hear this, sometimes it just comes down to putting in the work, right? There's tools.
Why are you trying to say that?
Because
The AI tool is going to save the day.
I mean, I wish AI tools could save the day, but they don't and can't right now, as far as I'm concerned. Like, at the end of the day, the sweat equity you put in is what can make the difference between you being successful or not. Because there's a lot of people out there looking for shortcuts. They're looking for the quick fix, the easy way out, and they're not seeing success immediately, so they quit. On the other side, there's someone like me who maybe I'm not the world's greatest salesperson, maybe I'm the world's greatest speaker, whatever it is, but like, I will outwork you and I will last longer than you, which that alone will differentiate me from you when it comes down to winning new business.
Okay, let's go back to this work thing.
Sure.
Like, what kind of KPIs does it take to succeed as a recruiter?
So it's a big question. I'll try to break it down into like smaller parts for people to then like self-analyze, because there's different standards depending on what you're doing, right? If you're an executive headhunter, you may only want to get 5 to 10 placements a year to hit your goal. If you're in the staffing and recruiting world where it's high volume, 5 to 10 is not going to cut it, right? So ultimately, I think what everyone needs to do is self-evaluate and say, how many meetings does it take to get a contract in place? Because what we're about to do is we're going to work backwards from here, right? So how many meetings does it take to get a contract in place? And then how many outbound activities does it take to get one meeting? If I know those 2 data points from talking to somebody, I can then, as anyone can, extrapolate what you need to do next week in order to start hitting the goals you set for yourself from a revenue perspective. But if you don't know those numbers, if you're not sure, I tell everybody, start at least 25 to 35 outreaches per day. You just have to do it. Like, start there and see if you can scale up from that point and see what success you have over the course of 4 to 5 weeks, right? Some people are really good at messaging, right? They're great at writing emails. Maybe they're great at cold calling. They may have a high conversion rate and they don't have to increase their numbers. They're already on track. Others might not, right? And I was in the not camp, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, I was early in my career, not a great salesperson. The only way I was successful was just putting in more and more effort and more time to get better at my craft. Because a lot of people, they don't want to do the necessary, again, back to the baseball effort, the necessary at bats to be successful. And sometimes you just gotta suck at the job for a while. But if you're willing to like keep pushing and keep persevering, you will be successful long-term, provided you have that growth mindset of, I'm always trying to learn, I'm always trying to get better, and I'm always willing to show up the next day and put in the work.
Do you see a lot of times where people, in your analysis, I don't want to say like lied to themselves, but they've lied to themselves on what they think they've done versus what they've actually done?
Oh, 100%. That ties in directly to the question I asked earlier to like a group of 4 people there this week. I said, what is your meeting goal for the week? And people like couldn't even give me a straight answer on that. I'm like, okay, guys, like, if we don't even know what our meeting goal is, how can we ever get to where we want to go from revenue goal? Because as I said, like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I ever got an inbound lead and got a rec and never had to even meet the person. They'd like signed off on the contract. Yeah, I'll pay you 25%. Like, here's an engineer role, work on it. Like, I don't need to meet with you. Like, cool, here you go. I trust you. It's like, that almost never happens. You have to meet people face to face. You have to go on meetings. So like, don't lie to yourself and feel like, oh, I'm doing enough. Don't have rocking horse syndrome. I know a little bit off a tangent here, but rocking horse syndrome is, imagine yourself on a rocking horse, right? A lot of movement is happening. You're not going anywhere. right? You're just sitting there. You're like, it feels like I'm doing stuff, right? And people fall in this trap of I'm busy versus I'm productive. They're very different. People that are busy are stuck on a rocking horse. They feel like they're doing a lot, but they're not going anywhere. The people that are productive, they're the people who have a plan in place, they execute on it, and they're actually going places. They're the one who's on a horseback, and for lack of a better term, they're running past your ass. Because you're sitting there, hey, I'm busy, like I'm doing stuff. It's like, you're not though. You're just being busy and you're lying to yourself about what you're actually accomplishing. You're not being productive.
In the recruiting space, what are the biggest catches of the busyness that recruiters don't realize that they are?
You could definitely fall into the prospecting / planning trap, right? And I know we just talked about that for the last 20 minutes, right? Where you have to do those things. Like, yes, you do. But once you start formulating a plan and have some prospecting, you have to put action. Don't fall in the trap of feeling like, oh, I just had a great planning day. It's like, yeah, I'm cool with you doing that once a quarter. You set out your plan, because I talk a lot about account focus stock and having a plan by each account. Once that day's been put aside and you have that plan mapped out, spend the next 89 days executing on that plan. Don't sit there every day thinking, oh, I've been really productive because I researched the last 7 hours. It's you can't do that every day. You have to take action, and you have to take action more so than you take planning. Once the plan's in place, just get out there and start putting the plan into action. And then the other thing, shiny objects, which I was talking people, myself included, look, there's a new tool that comes out every single day. And I go down the rabbit holes where I'm oh, this could be cool for my business. Let me look into it. And I'm well, there's 20 minutes I just wasted during A time that I should have just said, oh, this was cool. Let me do it during B time. I'll put it off on the side. I'll come back to it later. That's another trick of I was busy, but I didn't move the needle in terms of growing my revenue or winning new clients.
I think that's I used to be an AppSumo junkie.
A what? AppSumo? Oh, yeah. No, man. I still get those emails. I got a couple things from there, but I need to turn off those emails because, yeah, if it catches your attention, I know where you're going with this. If it catches your attention, I will blow 30 minutes to an hour because I opened that damn email.
And now it's, AppSumo used to be the thing. I love AppSumo. Instantly, the email software.
Sure.
I got that on AppSumo.
Okay.
Most of my podcasting, SaaS, I've gotten on AppSumo. But I feel the new AppSumo is every single recruiting tech. I feel there's a new one coming every single day.
Yep. And that's a mistake. I think a lot of people, they look to tools to help them with their strategy. And really, they need to map out what their strategy is first, and then look for tools to supplement or enhance areas that they're already doing. And one of my favorite things I always point out to people is, look, if you hand me a paintbrush, I will draw you stick figures. If you hand Michelangelo a paintbrush, he'll draw you the Sistine Chapel. The tool is the same. It's the person using it and the skills they have that make all the difference.
Where should a recruiter even be thinking about AI then? Even though I talk about AI all the freaking time.
Yeah. One of the best places I've personally used AI is doing some of the heavy lifting when it comes to researching, right? So if anyone has access to deep research or the operator part of ChatGPT, you can do some really cool stuff with some prompts where it'll prospect into these accounts for you and provide you a really detailed explanation of the company, of the key players within it, of potential openings, right? There's a lot of stuff you can do on the back end side of things, right? And that's where I think AI has its most value, is its ability to take all this data, give it to me, the user, right? And then I go out to market with it and use it in my outreach. Because again, going back to what I think are the two biggest drivers, talking to candidates and talking to clients / prospects, that still should be handled by me, myself, and I. I don't want AI doing it. The amount of terrible AI emails I get every day or AI LinkedIn messages, everyone can spot that a mile away now, your prospects included. So they see that and they're just they immediately ignore you, right? Let me do it. I spent 10 minutes this morning crafting up one single email, but it was a well thought out, well written bunch of data. We'll see if they respond back. But I know immediately when they open that, they know it's not been written by AI. I was able to craft that well drafted email because I let AI do all the research that would have taken me an hour to figure out all this data points. And then I was able to write an email in 10 minutes off of it.
But it's one of those things, at the moment, one of the challenges is a lot of the rec tech that has AI built, but baked into it is great.
Yep.
But there's a lot of promise on what's going to happen in the future. And I know everybody wants to kind of stay ahead of the curve, but I feel some of this stuff is just too complex for the normal recruiter.
Yeah. 100%. I wish I had the exact data too, but someone did a study just around like the use of, let's just say ChatGPT, because it's one of the most used AI tools out there. Most users are asking ChatGPT, like, what's a dinner recipe? Like, what's a good movie recommendation? Like, they're asking it like silly, basic level stuff. So I always think, yes, there's some really cool things you could do with AI, but for most of the user base, they're still at like the basic levels. So you don't have to like freak out thinking, oh my gosh, AI, like I have to be on top of it. It's like most people aren't anyways. Figure out a few areas that it can help do some heavy lifting for you, but then ultimately get back to the basics of driving conversations with clients and prospects. I can't harp on this enough. You do that enough times, you will be successful. It's almost impossible not to be successful if you're going on meetings, even if you're failing, right? Because guess what? Failure is the greatest teacher anyways. You go on these discovery meetings, you don't do well, you learn from it, and then the next discovery meeting, you're a little bit better. And the next one, you're a little bit better. And it goes back to, again, just getting the reps over and over again, because that's how you improve. You don't learn from just reading a book or buying a course or working even with like a coach, right? Like you have to still go out and do it yourself. And a lot of people, I think, are apprehensive of going out and failing. And that's okay. Like you have to accept the fact you're going to fail more times than you're going to win. Like that's what you sign up for in recruiting, and especially in the sales side. If you are a salesperson, you are signing up to being a failure, which is weird to say, but ultimately you have to accept you will fail a lot more times than you will succeed. Once you are okay with that fact, it really lifts a weight off your shoulder where you're cool going out there and learning from those failures and getting better.
So when it comes to the short amount of time recruiters have, should they be focused like just on the actual, the KPIs of recruiting and not like getting lost in like make.com agents, N8N agents and Clay?
Yeah, because like, again, those tools are they're cool and all, but they're not going to close me deals. They're not going to run discovery meetings for me. They're not going to run cold calls for me, even though I know there's some softwares out there. Like I think you even did a post recently. You said you weren't even impressed by the cold call AI agents out there. I've called into places that are using AI agents or gotten them myself. Not impressed. They're just not there yet. So if you're sitting around waiting for your white, the white knight in shining armor, aka these tools, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You still have to go out there and put in the work and improve yourself. And yeah, maybe one day AI can do a lot more and they'll make us more efficient. I mean, it already has, but like maybe they'll be able to do some things I'm saying right now it can't. I'm not waiting around for that. Like I don't have time to wait around for the tools to help me out. I need to go out and make myself better, and I'll find spots where the tools can enhance what I'm already doing.
And you like, I know we were talking about this offline, but like, it sounds like you're on a mission to also like do some of this stuff without some of these AI tools.
Yeah, I am actually, because I can't tell you the amount of like horror stories I've heard over the last month or two from people that have fallen in the trap of buying something that was billed as the world's greatest tool for BD, right? Whether it's Clay, which again, I think Clay is great. It's a very cool tool. It can do some really cool things. I'm not putting my entire BD strategy on it. I'm also not putting my BD strategy into the hands of somebody else that's a lead gen agency, because they're going out there and they're buying these tools and they're finding out it's just not working. And ultimately, I've worked with people that have had a cell phone, LinkedIn sales nav, and an Excel doc, and they build 100K months as a solo producer. So like, don't sit here and tell me these tools are needed to make your business successful. It's just not true. That's an excuse you're telling yourself. What you get is a plan in place.
100K months. What tools do they have?
A phone, LinkedIn, and an Excel doc. That's it.
What was their KPIs and stuff like that to hit the 100K?
Yeah, so we started working together in October, and over the course of like 3 months, a blend of using LinkedIn multi-channel outreach, but going back to what I said in the beginning of the call, was 25 to 30 outreaches a day. And she was doing this consistently over and over again. She started having more and more conversations. She started getting in front of the right people. She started signing them. And she went from, at that point in October, she was about 100K, on track for a little over 100K for the year. And like I said, fast forward to January of this year, she did 100K in 1 month. She actually got so busy that she went into discovery meetings and told them it's retained or the highway. And literally, she's like, I'm not taking you on unless you agree to retain, because I'm too busy to waste my time with contingent right now. And she signed 2 retained clients off of that too. So that goes back to the confidence piece I was talking about as well. She was confident enough in her pipeline or book of business. She actually overhauled some of her discovery meetings to where she went in and said, hey, this is what I do. This is how I operate. This is how, if you want to work with me, you have to sign up on this retain model. And they said, yeah, sure, let's do it. And they did.
In this market, how did she get some people are struggling.
Yeah.
But she's like sitting there like almost trying to push away business.
Yeah. In the tech space, nonetheless.
In the tech space.
Yeah. Construction tech specifically. But yes, in the tech space, she is crushing it.
Is there any other things that she did? Or she actually just built the plan or you guys put together a plan and she actually did it?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, yeah, she just did it, right? She also, I did post about this recently. There's two kind of things I'll go with this. One, her mindset, she has a growth mindset, right? She's always out there trying to learn and improve. And the other side, and I just posted the other day, I called it FIFO, which is figure it the blank out, right? That mindset, if you're just willing to go in there, I'm going to figure this out, you will find ways to be successful. So when she hit roadblocks, she didn't say oh, whoa, it was me. It was, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to figure out a different way. Right? I'm going to find a way to win this client over. I'm going to find a way to fill this damn rec. I'm going to find a way to have this tough conversation, right? Ultimately, she got it done and she was successful because of those two mindsets, if you ask me. In addition to, of course, having plans, having cadences, putting together the plan / executing on it led to the month that she had.
Did she have templates built up or was everything custom written per person?
Yeah. I mean, we worked on some templates, we created some email outreach, but a lot of it came down to just executing on proper account research, understanding her buyer persona, right? Going back to that ICP and understanding the pains and challenges about her space. She's so knowledgeable about the construction tech space, specifically within the sales departments, because that's a lot of roles she did. She had hiring managers asking her, what should we be paying these people? What does a good compensation plan look like? How do we do interview? What's a good interview process look like? She was the go-to person for these people because she presented herself as the consultant for hiring sales reps in the construction tech space. And they loved her for it because they looked to her for guidance. And talk about a position of authority to get yourself into that point where they're saying is this a good salary for a sales rep? What should we do for bonus plans? I don't know. She's able to answer those stuff. So who do you think they're going to want to work with moving forward?
There we go. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, again, she put in the reps though too, right? I just cannot harp on that enough. She put in the reps to put herself in the position to be successful. And I mean, she'll hit $500,000 this year, guaranteed.
That is awesome. And definitely we're pretty early in the year too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, again, when you start off the year 6 figures the very first month, you've definitely signed yourself up for some long-term success. It also helped getting some retained clients. And she's never stopped building her pipeline, right? That's the other thing too. A lot of people, when the going gets good, they take their foot off the gas from a prospecting perspective. Don't ever do that. You cannot, there's no guarantee. You might, as you said, you might get doged, right? If you're sitting there thinking hey, I'm all set. I've got all these clients. I'm projecting for $500,000, $1 million here. Everything's great. Gone. One phone call, out the door. And you're sitting there going, well, my pipeline's empty. No one wants to be in that spot. And I speak from my own experience where I've had clients, $500,000 or more projected. They called me up. The end. We're done. We lost our biggest client. You just lost your biggest client. That's a hard lesson to learn. But if you're not an ABP, right, always be prospecting, you're going to have some really tough times when things slow down.
All right. So we got a few terminologies just to recap. Okay.
Sure.
We have ABP stands for
always be prospecting.
And what was the FIFO?
FIFO?
FIFO.
FIFO. Figure it the
fuck out.
Yeah.
And then we have 30-30-30. What does that stand for again?
Yeah, for outreach time, right? Block off 30 minutes throughout the week. I'm gonna block off 30 minutes here. And within those 30 minutes, I'll do 10 manual emails. And then the next 30 minutes, I'll do 10 LinkedIn voice notes. And the next 30 minutes, I'll do 10 cold calls, right? It's really just a clever way of disguising up the Pomodoro technique and just saying, hey, blocking off these things and focus on one single activity. Don't go from cold calling 1 minute to emailing the next minute to LinkedIn voice notes the third. And I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I have read enough to know doing that triggers different parts of your brain to work. And that context switching from one activity to another is actually detrimental to your efficiency and success. Because they've done studies like context switching, it takes your brain 20 some minutes to get back into the groove, so to speak. So if you block off 30 minutes, right, of only that activity, it allows your brain to focus on just one thing and get really good during that period, and then take a little bit of break and then do the next thing.
And then you have the 5-5-50.
Yeah, 50 minutes every week. Like this is going back to like the ABP, right? It really ties in this if we're going for full circle here of like the systematic recruiter approach. 50 minutes every week, you block off to find 5 accounts and define 5 names in it that you're going to reach out to. Because if you force yourself to do that every week, you're always going to be prospecting because it forces you to do that. So if and when your biggest client says, hey, we're done with you, you get there and say, well, that stinks, but I've been prospecting for the last 4 months in this account. I'm about to sign the deal with them. It'll replace this big account I just lost. I'm not even going to lose any sleep over it because this $500,000 account went away. I've got another $500,000 account coming into the fold right now. I'm in a good spot.
Last question before we jump over to quick fire questions. What if a recruiter doesn't know what the fuck they want to do with their ICP? Like they don't know where they want to go digging.
Like they can't even like tell me who their ICP is.
I mean, they could probably tell you like what they do, but what if it's not like what they want to do? Like, how do you really zero in on that, like where to dig?
Yeah, I mean, I read it recently too, and I really liked how it was phrased, right? So there's a lot of industries that could use recruiting services, like basically all of them, right? As you look at yourself, when you go and prospect, what industry do you lose yourself in terms of time? Because if that industry, let's just say, again, going back to like maybe you're an accounting and finance guy, but whenever you prospect into med device or IT or construction companies, the time flies by and you really enjoy it. What that tells me is you have a passion for that space, and that passion can take you places, right? Because when time comes when it sucks, you're still excited to want to work in that industry to push through some of that adversity. Now, again, passion doesn't get you everywhere. I can't harp on it enough, right? Plans in place still help because at the end of the day, we don't rise to our passions, right? We fall to our systems. That's just like a little tweak on James Clear quote. But if you have a passion about a space, like lean into it more and more. I'll use myself as an example. I've sold life sciences. I could do med device, food and beverage, pharma, biotech. I really like the med device space. I like got lost in the prospecting of those accounts, talking to those managers, and I kept doing more and more business in that space because I was excited to show up the next day to work to learn about like the new technologies, the new products, and it made my job easier and more fun. So I don't know if that exactly answers it, but you could use AI too if you want to help from an ICP side of things. I mean, there's a bunch of prompts out there. If anyone needs them, like reach out to me directly. I'm happy to share some prompts that'll help like refine your ICP and even take it a few steps further. But I guess to answer your questions, it is lean into like your passion because it will make this job better.
And real quick, before we jump over to quick fire questions, you have that spreadsheet available that people that she billed 100K months on.
Yeah, the Systematic Recruiter Blueprint. Yeah, I created it. So she used it, and thanks to you, right? The last talk I was with the summit back in January, I talked about it. I had quite a few people reach out to me and ask about it. And people loved it so much. I was like, you should just charge for this. So I created a full little mini course around this entire document that people have loved. It's helped them refine their ICP because I walk through in the video format, like how to do this stuff. I've got AI prompts included with it. It helps you create that plan we've been talking about for the last, 40 minutes now when it comes to like target accounts, account focus, knowing your numbers, all that stuff is completely added into this thing because I want to make this as much as like plug and play as possible because I got into the business that I'm doing now with the goal of helping as many recruiters as I possibly can. And I realize, right, hiring a coach and consultant, it's not cheap. And it shouldn't be, to be quite frank. But if I can help people with some of these like little mini courses I'm creating, I'm going to do it because I want to impact not only the person who's been in the industry for 20 years, because people have bought it and love that. I want to impact the person who's been here for 2 months and who says, look, I want to be good at recruiting. I'm struggling in my current place. I need to figure out a plan, but I can't afford to pay whatever. This is what that type of stuff's there meant to help you out because I was that person. I was struggling and I was looking for resources and ways to get better. And I was a person who was married with a kid and I was making 30 grand a year when I started out. Like I barely had enough money to pay for bills. Like I was the guy who was like, yeah, I got less than 4 digits in my bank account right now. And so having accessible information that can be not a costly investment, it's important to me.
Awesome. Speaking of that new recruiter that's been in recruiting for 2 months, quick fire questions. What advice would you actually give them to have a successful career?
I'm not going to say plan because I've said that enough. But I am going to go back to the mindset side of things, right? it is having the ABL, right? Always be learning mindset. And that's another way of saying growth mindset. If you treat every day as a learning opportunity, you can be successful long-term. If you come in with that fixed mindset where you say like, oh, woe is me, it's the market, it's this, that, and the other, what that does, it closes you down from learning opportunities because you're placing the blame externally on something else. And you're not learning from it. If I come in and say, hey, I screwed up, I can get better, that allows me to open it up to the feedback I'm getting from my bosses, from the market, from my prospects, from my candidates, and it allows me to improve. Like ultimately just lean into the discomfort. Like the book's next to me. I've been rereading Hidden Potential by Adam Grant, and he talks a lot about that. Like there's a whole blurb about these people that learn new languages. And one of the key points they say is people that learn new languages quickly, they're not afraid to fail. They lean into the discomfort of being awkward, trying to talk to someone in their native tongue. Like that was a long-winded answer, but that will make you successful. And that's what I'd say to anyone starting out, like have that growth mindset. It will serve you well long-term.
All right. So stop being afraid to speak a language that I'm trying to learn. Okay.
Don't be afraid to fail, right? Like, unfortunately, like a lot of people are, and it probably doesn't help with social media today. People are afraid to fail for the fear of what people will think about them. It's very unfortunate, but ultimately the only way to improve in life is to fail. It's to get out there and fail and get better because that's how you learn new skills and improve upon them.
All right. Same question about the old dog. Been in the space.
The old dog, I mean, again, I could say always be learning because the industry's always changing. That's a cop-out answer, I guess. But I mean, the old dog, honestly though, I still would say ABL because you talk to the people that have been in the industry for a long time and they say one of the most dreaded terms of all time, which is, well, that's the way we've always done it. That's awful. That to me, I hear that. I'm like, oh, cool. Status quo. That's the people. It's always they've done it. That means they're not open to new approaches. They have a fixed mindset. So I would say the same person that's just starting out to 20 years, like always be learning, always be looking to improve and always be okay with failing, like leaning into that discomfort.
Since we've talked about the tech tools, we've talked about AI, we've talked about how like the shiny object is probably hurting your career. Do you still have a favorite tech tool?
Damn. A favorite tech tool. I use Claude AI. I use Chat GPT. I buy those plans to one, mess around with them because to your point, right? I still have shiny objects in myself with like every new model. I'm like, oh, let's try out this new thing. But they are great tools to do some of the heavy lifting and some of the boring stuff I don't want to do, right? I don't want to like spend the 20, 30 minutes prospecting into a full account. If I could just drop it in ChatGPT and let it do it myself and send me the report, I love doing that. So I know it's a cop-out answer, but those are two of my favorite tools. I mean, I also post a lot on LinkedIn. I use those tools to help with my writing as well. Both my content I put on LinkedIn, but also my writing that I can send out to prospects and candidates as well. You'd be amazed at like some of the feedback you get if you prompt it the right way and drop it in. It gives you some of the strengths and weaknesses where I can say, okay, I could tweak this. I make this a little better before I put it out in the world. It's almost like having your own editor.
Is there a tool that you see a lot of people getting the most lost with?
Oh man. I feel like I'd be disparaging tools then though.
Okay, we'll skip this one then. Okay.
No, I mean, I'll say it because as we've talked about offline too, right? Like I think Clay right now is the biggest like quicksand tool out there because it bills itself as this automated tool that can do all these things. One, you'd be amazed how quickly you can burn credits, which is money down the drain, right? You and I, we laugh because we've talked about it, but like you can burn money real fast using Clay because it seems like, oh, it's only a couple credits. Like, yeah, but it goes fast and your credits are gone. And just like that, you're out hundreds of dollars. The other thing too, why I call it like quicksand or fool's gold is because people look to Clay as the answer to their BD problem. They see these people posting on LinkedIn like, oh, we have these like Clay templates and it's automated, looks all fancy, it's cool, it's all that stuff. It's like, honestly, I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I need to figure out how do I have conversations with candidates and prospects. I don't need 27 different steps of identifying unique website visitors. I run through this, I enrich this, I do this, I automate this, I AI this. Like, I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm talking to the person's talking to me. It's still a human to human job we're in and industry we're in. So don't fall into the Clay trap of it'll solve all your BD problems because it won't. So there you go. That's my honest opinion. Like I was about to skirt that one, but I can't help it anymore. I'm sick and tired of jumping on LinkedIn and seeing people who are these Clay agencies who have never worked a day in recruiting selling fool's gold to people who are wasting money on something that will never fix their problems because they're trying to build a mansion on top of quicksand. They're not putting together the foundation, the sales strategy, the plan, and they're thinking Clay's going to come in and be their, knight in shining armor. It's not. It just won't.
Favorite book?
Favorite book. I mean, I said it, like, I'm rereading Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. I think last time was on your said Challenger Sale, but the whole book itself is just around like team performance. It's around like learning. And it really, I mean, Mark Cuban like says it best. He basically says like every coach, teacher, parent, kid, everyone should read this book because it really opens your eyes around how potential is built. It's not just there, right? And it's like going back to like, the God-given abilities of like athletes and stuff. We all look at people like LeBron James and say, like, well, he's just so gifted. He's 6'6" or whatever. It's like, that man has put in work over the last 20 some years, right? And he's put in millions of dollars, countless hours of work in the gym, outside of the gym to be successful. It wasn't just God-given potential and ability. He had to refine it. And this book kind of echoes that point as well.
So this is going to be for you and your coaching business. Like, it's been a year and a half since we've had a conversation. I know, like, we have conversations a few times a month, but if you can go back in time to talk to yourself early in your coaching business with everything that you know now, what advice would you go back and give yourself?
Oh man, that's a good one. Honestly, I would say like, hey, don't be afraid to go after the bigger fish, right? Like I think early on, and even to this day, there's times where I have imposter syndrome. And I think I said earlier, like I had dinner with someone who runs a $20 million firm and it was just a casual dinner, right? And I'm sitting here, I was nervous as hell to go to it. I'm like, what am I, like, if he brings up business, like how am I ever going to help out someone who's been this successful running their staffing firm? And within the first 10 minutes of talking through stuff, we were able to like overhaul some of his internal processes. Like, again, I don't know if he actually did it. It was just advice, but like his eyes were open to some of the coaching points I was able to provide. And I know when I first started out, I thought to myself, like, who am I to like tell somebody how to run their business that's been this successful? I should have just trusted myself in what I was doing and also understand there's people out there that just because they have money doesn't mean they have it all figured out.
You talk to a lot of recruiters. You get a lot of questions. What's the perfect template? Can you help me write this perfect email structure?
What should I do for my day?
What should I do for my day?
Yeah.
What's the question that you actually wish they would ask you? And what's that answer?
What do I wish they would ask me? Like, man, that's one of the hardest questions I've gotten. I would say I wish they would ask me, and maybe it's geared towards myself too, but it's like, they should ask like, hey, how are high performers, how do they get to where they're at? Because a lot of people, I think, look at high performers and they only see the successful part of things. Like, oh, wow, things are going so well for them. And a lot of people don't ask what it looked like in the beginning. They don't do like an apples to apples comparison. They look at the high performer, who they are today, and they don't go back and look at who they were when they first started out. Because I can almost guarantee every high performer out there struggled in the beginning. Like no one like walks into this industry day one is successful. Like you might have some success, don't get me wrong, but over the course of time, things will go poorly for you. You'll have bad quarters. You may even have bad years. But the high performers are the ones that keep showing up. They have that ABL mindset and they're willing to like persevere to get back to the good times. So yeah, I guess that'd be my question is like, hey, how did high performers get to where they're at? Because a lot of people, they see the glitz and glam and think it's easy. And that's just a misnomer. It's not true. Like even to this day, like even with my own business, I'm sitting here and I do the same thing. I compare myself to other coaches. Of, Jesus, they're so good. They're so great. Like, and I realized like, Keely, that person's been at it for 5 years, 10 years. Like, who knows who you're going to be 10 years from now? Maybe you are that person. Maybe you are as successful as they are. But at the end of the day, the only person you compare yourself is yourself, right? You have to continue to look to improve yourself over time and then look back and who you were a year and a half ago, right? To your point, like who I was as a coach a year and a half ago is very different than who I am today. And that's who I really should be comparing and ultimately competing against is myself. Because that's the only one, that's it. Like I can only improve myself. I can't get to the level of some of these other coaches in one day, but I can be better than I was yesterday.
And, looking at it forward, where do you want to spend like the next few years helping recruiters?
Oh man, it's a timely question too, probably because we've talked about it. But I mean, like I said about the imposter syndrome side of things, like I do want to start working with bigger and bigger firms because I'm realizing like the value I can bring, the way I can help out. And also selfishly, I can impact more lives that way, right? I love working with solo operators. That person that had the 100K month, like I'm pumped for Sam, right? She's done amazing. Like her life this year and probably beyond, it's going to be better, a lot better because of less stress she has and all that stuff. But that's one person, right? I get to work with these firms. I can impact the lives of 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 people, right? And that's what actually excites me. It's the reason why I'm doing what I do. I love coaching. I love helping people, and I love helping people get to where they want to go. I mean, I'm a football coach by trade. I actually just now got back into coaching high school football. So like, it's who I am. It's in my DNA. So the more and more people have an opportunity to coach and have a positive impact on their lives, the more joy it brings to me, my business, my life.
Love that. Well, for anybody that wants to follow you, Keely, how do they go about doing that?
LinkedIn, I'm on there posting every day. If you ever leave a comment, I'll make sure. I'm not a big enough name where I don't respond to every comment. So I'll make sure, but like send me a DM, connect with me on LinkedIn. I've got a free newsletter if you ever want to check that out as well. But those are like my two main ways to stay on top of like what I'm doing, what I'm coaching, and what I'm preaching.
And secondly, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners before I let you go?
I mean, this might be like a little bit too grandiose, but like I think a lot of us came into this year, the start of the year, calendar year, thinking like, hey, things will start turning around for the recruiting industry. And I even said that too. Like I made a prediction, like this year is going to be better. I think because the last couple of years they've been tough, been really freaking hard. I still think, and while it isn't easy, like it hasn't gone easy street by any means, there's still business to be won. So like, keep your head up. Everyone here is going to hit rough patches. Again, I speak only from my own personal experience, right? I've hit rough patches. If you keep persevering, you keep having that ABL mindset, like I think long-term you will be successful. And also like come in every day, like ready to win the day. Again, I love cliches, but they work, right? Come ready to win the day, like attack the day, come in with a plan, execute on a high level, and put your head down the pillow at night, knowing you did everything you could that day to win. And then repeat that over and over again, and you will be successful.
Love that. Well, excited to have you back. I still can't believe it's been a year and a half.
I know.
It's just kind of crazy where things have gone like in the past few years. And so definitely excited to having this conversation again. But, back to the original point of like, how we started off this episode. Do not let shiny object syndrome, AKA the AI tool hunting, be the thing that stops you from having a successful year.
Amen.
So I want you to crush it. Go chase your dreams, go chase your goals, put in the work, as Keely said, and make 2025 the best year ever. The Elite Recruiter Podcast has multiple summits coming up that you need to make sure that you are registered for. We have the AI Recruiting Summit 2025 coming up. And on top of that, finish the year strong. These two summits are going to help you move the needle, help you achieve your goals, help you achieve your dreams, and make 2025 the year that you started out and you wanted it to be. Make sure you get registered and also stay tuned. We got something cooking for you guys. Working on another project that you guys are going to absolutely love. All right. See you guys at the summits and see you guys soon.